Thank you. Okay, morning. We're going to start Kuf Zayin. Kuf Zayin Amid Aleph. One line from the top. Second line. Thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. We're learning Shabbat B'Tz English. Immediately, we're learning Lila Nishma Savagol Basra Daf Yomi Warriors and when is it here? And for Shleima Pavim David Ben Sarah and Dali gets some of that. Elias Ben gets part of. Okay, so the Gemara starts like this. Itmar. Statement from Amiraim, which usually is, ends up being a machlekes. Well, what we had before were two brothers that divided their inheritance, and the third brother appears. So what do? It's machlekes Rav and Shmuel. So Rav says you have to redivide it. Everything, the whole division has to be redone. And Shmuel said, no, they don't redo the whole division. Each one just gives him a portion of his, like 1/6 of his, which makes him get a third. 2/6 together would be a third. And each one would have a third. We do it like that. Anyway, now we have Achim Shechalko, brothers divided. And a creditor comes, a lender that had lent the father money shows up and says that your father owed me money. So therefore, I'm confiscating one of the properties. He took the property of one of them. So Rav Amar Batla Machlekes. It's just like a brother showing up. Did Rav say before? Batla Machlekes. It's not right that he took the property of one of them. This one brother shouldn't lose out, right? He should. He's just one of the brothers. He should only lose half, right? Or it should be 6. He should only lose 6 because they were divided into 3. Or I don't know how big the property was that he took. He took away the property. Okay. Shmuel says Viter. Shmuel says it's a done deal. It's too late. Viter means that he forgoes his portion. Right? Right? There's a Gemara that says anyone that says that Hashem just doesn't care about the mitzvahs. Viter means forgoes. Anyway, so which means that he loses it. He loses his portion. We'll see in a minute the explanation for this. Why did he have to go to him and not to the brother? It's just bad luck. He could have gone to the brother. Ravasi Amar. Ravasi says, Naitel Ravia Bakarka or Ravia B'mais. Ravasi says, simple pshat, or Rashbam's pshat is that we don't know if he loses out or if we have to redo this. So what we do is he takes a half of what we would do according to Rav. In other words, it's Mammon Amatul B'Safek. It's money that's endowed here. There's 2 brothers, Reuben and Shimon. Comes along Beryl and the Baal Chayv. I don't want to say Levi, so it'll be another brother. But comes along Beryl and takes away Shimon's property. Okay, because he was the lender to the father, he's a creditor. So Ruvain should really redivide his property. But we don't know if he should, because that's Machlekes Rav and Shmuel. So it comes along Ravasi, and he says, so we'll give him half of what Rav says, and we'll and half of what Shmuel says. But we'll give him just half, which is a quarter. Now, in order to learn this pshat, what you have to do is you have to say Revia Bekarka or Revia B'mais, or a quarter of money. And the explanation would be like this: either we're supposed to redivide the property, okay, or the other brother can say, Reuben can say, I would have paid off the lender, this creditor. I would have given him cash. I don't want him to take the inheritance property. I would have paid him cash. So therefore, what I'm going to do to you is I'm just going to give you that cash. That's what I never would have wanted to lose my property. You didn't do it. So he has the option of giving him either the property, or if he wants, he could just pay him cash and he doesn't get anything. Yeah, that's the one shot. Rashi, the Rashbam quotes on the bottom, quotes his grandfather. Where was that Rashbam? Lashon Acha, I don't know. In the Rashi Mesafkele, he says that my grandfather explained this in Baba Kama, that you have to give both. He's actually going to get, according to Ravasi, he gets a quarter in property, and he gets a quarter in cash, which means he gets the full half. Gets a full half. And his explanation is that we don't make the first person lose out on the whole inheritance, on all the inheritance, because he says I would have paid it off. So he has to get some of the inheritance, but he can also get some of it in cash, and that's up to the person to do that, right? If he wants, he can give him the whole thing in property, but maybe he doesn't want to give him the whole thing in property, so he gives him some half of it in cash. But according to Rashi's pshat, he's not getting half of what he's supposed to get. He's getting the value of everything that he's supposed to get. Just half of it is property, half of it is cash. According to the Rashbam's pshat, he's only getting half of what he gets, what he's supposed to get, because he lost out because it's a suffix. Follow, Reb Naftali?
Who loses out? The creditor?
No, the creditor is getting everything.
Okay.
Talking about Shimon, the two brothers here, Reuven and Shimon.
Yeah.
The poor Shimon, the creditor comes and takes his whole thing.
Right.
So now Rav says, okay, so Reuven and Shimon have to redivide what's remaining, and they split. Shmuel says, no, Reuven keeps his thing, and poor Shimon is that's his bad luck. He lost it. And Ravasi says, according to the Rashbam, that there's a machlekes Rav and Shmuel. Let's divide. Let's give not Shimon a half of the property, which is what he originally get. Machlekes. Let's just give him a quarter, which would be half of a half. It's a suffix. And the Rashi, that was Rashbam's pshat. Rashi's pshat is let's give him everything that he's supposed to get, which is a full half. The only thing is a quarter of it is going to be in property, and a quarter of it will be in. It's not a quarter. It's a half of a half. Let's talk about the half of a half, which is a quarter. And a quarter of it will be in cash, because the Reuven says, I never would have given this guy property. Now I have to give you the property because you gave it to him, and we would have paid him off in cash if it would have come to me. Right? So that's the okay. Go through the explanations here. Rav Amar Batal Machlekes. Rav says that we have to redo the whole division between the two brothers, the inheritance. By the way, tomorrow we start the new parak. That's Hashem, which is all about inheritance. Rav says that you have to redo this whole thing. Why? Because Kosavarach and Shachalka Yoshimim, brothers that divide, are not considered purchasers of property. And so therefore, the estate is still considered the estate of the father. They're just inheritors. So the fact that he has this property and the fact that the two brothers, Reuven and Shimon, each ended up with a specific designated property that's theirs, that's not because they made an agreement that you take this one and you take that one. That agreement of you take this and you take that, that is yesh breira. We go back and say retroactively, that was your original inheritance. We just didn't know it until you divided it. But when the father passed away, that was an inheritance that was left for them. When they divided it retroactively, we realized that was there. So therefore, there was no deal between them like a sale. And when the creditor comes and takes away this one, he is really taking away from the father's estate, which means that it needs to be redivided. Shmuel Amar Viter, Shmuel says no. He forgoes his inheritance because the purchasers. We throw in this point, poor guy, Mamish loses out. The two brothers are purchased each from each other the property. Because there were two properties here, so they said, you take one Sugazon, and that exchange is like they bought. They said, I'll give you this in exchange for this property, and I'll give you this in exchange for that property. So each one ends up buying from each other by forgoing the rights to the other property. He's buying his property, and he's buying it in a way shalei b'achrayas without any guarantee, no refunds. And so if someone comes and takes it away, that's it. He loses it. That's Shmuel saying. Problem is, we never do that with property. We always say achrayas ta sefer. If the achrayas, there's no guarantee in the document, we say it's a mistake. It's a scribal error, and it's what's really supposed to be there. And over here, we're saying it's sold without any achrayas. So the Rashbam, if you want to take a look at this inside, it's in the widest lines, about 6 lines down. He says, "Hani mili." When do we say that it's a mistake in the document if they leave out the achrayas? That's if he buys. I'm in the Rashbam. That's if he's buying it from his friend because the person would never throw away money for nothing with no guarantee. If he's paying for it, he wants to have a guarantee. But over here, he's so happy that he doesn't have to take responsibility for his friend, for his brother. His brother doesn't take responsibility for him. They're happy just to divide that. We don't want to, have anything no strings attached. That's what they want. He didn't pay money. They just want to divide this up. I don't take any responsibility for what goes on now with yours, and you don't take any responsibility for what goes on with mine. Turns out Shimon loses out because the creditor came and took Shimon.
The creditor's coming because he's repossessing land. There's a debt.
Yeah, from the father. Okay, that's yeah. The girdle. Yeah. I don't think so. I think that's just however they divided it. It could be how did they divide it? This one says, "Oh, I like the garden and you like this. I like this farm. You take that farm." Or they could have divided it like that, or they could have divided it with the girdle. However they divided it, that's the division. I don't think it matters if they spoke about it or if they just drew a lottery. Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know if you have to go through that stage. No, when it's hefty, you still have to move. Yeah, for sure. Or else someone else will take it. Okay. Ravasi Misafkale. Ravasi has a doubt. The Yarshan Habi Lakuchas Habi. Is he considered an inheritor? Is he considered a purchaser? Hilka Neitel Ravia Bekarka Ravia B'mais. Therefore, he takes. Yeah, you got to figure out how this fits with both Pshatim. If you say "I," you say "I" like the Rashbam was learning. "I" as in "oh," and as in "I," like "I." If you say "or," right? He either gets, yeah, if you say "or," because he has a doubt, it's like Rav or like Shmuel. He either gets the property or the value of it, which doesn't matter, but he's only going to get a quarter because of that doubt. Learn like Rashi. So Misafkala Yarshani Lakuchas Habi. I guess the explanation is if they're Yarshin, Lakuchas with Achrayas. That's how we would learn it. Yeah, the Rashbam spells it out. We don't know. Is he like a inheritor, and therefore he has to get actual property, Or is he a purchaser? The two brothers that divide, is the inheritor? Is it considered when they divide? Is it considered inheritance or a purchase? But it would be a purchase with a guarantee, and therefore he has to get a refund, so he gets money back. Yeah. Okay. Amar Rav Papa. Rav Papa says, Hilchas b'chol hanishmaitz. The halacha in all of these is mekamtzin, which is what Shmuel said before, is that we don't redo the division. We give the person just a portion. You know, we scrape off the end of this of the field of the brothers that here. You know, so we're going back to the case before as well, when there was two brothers, they divided a property. Comes along a third brother from overseas and says, "Hey, I'm a brother also." So each of them takes a portion, a sixth of their portion. They just slice off a sixth and they give it to them. The same thing over here. We would say that we don't redo the machlekes. We don't redo the division. Not like Rab. They're considered. Rab said, "Batl machlekes." It's not 100% not like Rab. It's because it is like Rab. It's partially like Rab that they're considered inheritors, but nevertheless we don't redo the machlekes.
I don't understand the difference between a purchaser and inheritor. Like, how does that change this?
The difference between the purchaser and inheritor is that if it's a purchase, then you get out the other brother that did not have his field confiscated. You can say, look, you bought the wrong one, and I know that this was a debt that was on our father, on the estate. But once we divided it up, you're on your own.
Oh, okay, so it's like after sale.
If it's an inheritance, then we say that you're taking from the estate. And the fact that he took your portion, there's nothing to do. It's not your fault. We'll have to redivide it and do it again. That's machlekes. That's what Shmuel says. Inheritance is like a sale. Yeah, where are you getting Rabbi Yeshua for from the previous Gemara? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, so another Gemara is, this was a machlekes. Was it Rav and Rabbi Yeshua? Was it?
She said in the name of
Ravasi. Okay. Okay. So this is Rav Papa. Rav Papa says mekamtzin. Amar says batal machlekes. That no, you have to redo the whole thing, like Rab says, that it's an inheritance, and you have to redo the whole division. The brothers will now divide. Reuven and Shimon will redivide property.
Why is the president going to?
Why did he come to one?
Yeah.
He was easier to deal with. It was just his bad luck. Maybe the loan was attached to that property. Right. I don't think it matters. The point is that the one brother's like case, whatever the case is, he took my field. The Hilchas Abatal Machlekes. The Gemara says halacha is that they're like inheritors, they're not like purchasers, and you have to redo the division. Starting a brisa. Now it gets slightly more complex. We're not talking about brothers dividing right now. Now we're talking about when the Beis Din is selling property because there's a husband that passed away and he needs to support his wife because of the ksuba, right? You know about that stuff. Or his daughters that are left, he's supposed to sustain them. So the Beis Din is going into the property and they're going to evaluate what it's worth and then they're going to start to sell it. So How many people are needed to go in to do this evaluation? 3 people, right? They don't want to do this. They don't want any mishandling of this and selling it to themselves type of thing or for the wrong price and all of that. So it has to be 3 people. It says shleisha shiyardu lasum. Is it lashum or lashum? Lashum. 3 people go down to evaluate. One of them says b'mana. The property is worth 100 coins. A mana is 100 dinar, which is 25 sela. Now, it's important to remember these numbers because it's going to come back to us to haunt us. The calculations are going to be significant here. So, which means there's 4 dinar per sela. So 25 sela would be 100, right? Imagine a sela is like $1, okay? And a dinar is a quarter. So there's going to be 100 quarters in $25. How much is in a roll of quarters? $10. 40 coins. 40 coins would be $10. Okay. That's one opinion. Shnayim Aimrim, there were 2 people that said b'masayim. Says no, this is $50, $50, 50 sela. It's 200 quarters, right? They're arguing over this. So there's 3 people. It's 1 versus 2, and so the halacha is, in all of these cases, it's going to be we're going to follow the majority, or it could be the opposite. It says let's say one of them said it's worth 200, one of them said it's worth 1, and 2 of them said it's worth 100. And whatever the case is, we always follow the majority because the pasuk says never you have a conflict, you always follow the majority. One of them said it's worth 25 coins, which is 100 dinar. One said, no, it's not worth 25 dinar. It's only worth 20 dinar. How many quarters would be in $20? 80. Yeah, does that make sense? So he's saying 80. So one said 100, one said 80. One said 30. How many quarters are in $30? 120. So we have 80, 100, and 120. Right? But who's the middle? The 100. The nidin b'mana. You take the middle one. Perfect, right? They do when you get like estimates or something, you have to pay the, I don't know, you take the lowest, you pay. Anyway, okay, this is the average, the one in the middle. Works out perfectly. However, Rabbi Eliezer bar Tzadok Nidim B'tishim. Eliezer bar Tzadok, he says, you follow what you're going to do is you're going to get 90 coins. We have to see in the Gemara why. Wait a minute. Then there's a third opinion here that says we're going to have to divide it into thirds between 2 of these opinions, and then we're going to add in some more, and we're going to divide it up. Okay, let's go back. The Gemara goes back and explains what the opinions are. The one that says that you get the 100 coins, which is the middle one, that was the easiest to understand. Milsa Mitziyasa, you follow the middle opinion, and that's what you take. Easy. Okay. Rabbi Eliezer bar Tzadok, he says that he's getting 90, and how do you get it? How is this 90? It was either 80, 100, or 120, right? How do you get 90? It says Kasavar, he holds, Ha'ara, this land really is Tishin Shav, it's really worth 90. Why the person say 80? The Katoy Asar La'acheret, because he made a mistake by 10. And this guy said 100. Katoy Asar La'kameh, he made a mistake by 10. They say, okay. So the average between the lowest 2 is 90. Following also the majority here. between the 80 and the 100. And then we averaged out between the majority, 80 and 100.
Why not factor in the 120?
Obvious question. Very good, Yonatan. Gemara says, Adarabba. On the contrary, let's go the other way. Let's say it's really worth 110. You see what the Gemara is doing now. It's really worth 110. Behind the Kamar Mana, and this that he said 100 because he made a mistake by 10. We're going to average it out between the 100 and the 120. And we're going to say that it's really 110. By the Kamar Mana, the by the Kamar Shleishim, this is why this is the one that says it's 120. It's because you overpriced it by 10. It says you would take the lower two, because it doesn't go out from being a mana. Now, the way the Rashbam explains this is that tafasta meruba like tafasta. We have to take the lower amounts. Yeah, there's an expression in the Gemara that if you take too much, you don't take anything. We had this in Sukkah, remember? That when you have to estimate things, you have to if you can't go to the highest. You have to take low. If you take what's less, you'll end up with something. If you take too much, you'll end up with nothing. Yeah. So we're saying. So what we're saying is that you take the lower two. Now, if you have a comment on that, that would be interesting. Is there any comment in the this piece? Any note? Yeah, there's nothing. They don't add anything to that. Yeah, I got the same. It's the same. That's the digital version of the.
They call it the outlier. It's outlier. Just throw that one out.
Oh, the outlier.
The inlier I never heard of. The outlier.
Okay, that's the term. Outlier.
There are whole books about outliers.
Yeah.
They're the most interesting. He's an outlier because it's just something that's way out of field and sounds crazy. Forget him. In the end, that's the most
That's actually
truest.
Interesting.
Usually the bank goes by an average, but they put more weight on the house that has more similar conditions to the one they're under. But they don't go by one, or the last one use the last three sales.
That's three sales. That's having nothing to do with the current sale.
So we'll follow the last three sales in the area. Even if there was one ridiculous, one of the sales was like ridiculously high price, they average that in.
Yes, but in order to have a ridiculously high price, is that the person probably put money out of their pocket, like over what the bank loaned them, because
So they follow.
They follow the three previous sales before that.
So they're following the sale price, not what the bank was willing to loan.
They base what the bank is willing to loan based on the last three sales.
Unless the sale price. Okay.
Now, the only way that one, like for example, $100,000 over the normal is that the person gave $100,000.
Right. The last guy would have had to pay because he wasn't able to get that money from the bank. But they still follow what the sale price. Okay.
And anyone could ask, $10 million for a table, but it doesn't mean that it's worth $10 million.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we explained Rabbi Lazar Bar Tzaddik. The Gemara explained it quite well. Why he says 90. It's the average between the lower two, right? Pretty good. This gets a little bit complex. It says Shuma Beinem Mishalshalom. You have to divide it by. We're going to divide it by 3. 1 second. Kasavri, he thinks like this. They hold the Sachirim.
This is how you get the averages by adding them all together.
Yeah. But
that's why that's a problem with an outlier. It really skews your average.
So Kasavri Hay Ara Tishim Vitlasa Vitilsa Shavya. We think that this property is really worth 93 1/3. You see, Rabbi Eliezer Bar Tzadok, I'll show you in a second. Haida Kamar Esrim, why do you say 20? Why do you say that it's only 80? Why do you say that it's 80? So Katoit Haida Kamar Katoit Tleisar V'Tilsal Achirin. He made a mistake about 13 and a third backwards. It's really supposed to be 93 and a third. He thinks a person would make a mistake up to 13. So it's really 93. Why the kamar mana? Person that said it's a mana, he made a mistake of 13 and a third forward. So why do you say 100? He should have said 106, 106 and 2/3, right? 106 and 2/3. Not 106 and a third, 106.6. So he says, he really should have said 106. That he didn't say that. Savar mistoi the kamatfina kulehaya chavrai. What does the word mistoi mean? Mistoi. Let me take a look at my colleague. It's enough. Mistoi. It's enough for me that it added so much to the estimate of my colleague. So he scales back from 106 to 100. Mistoi.
There's a rush.
Mistoi. Trying to think where else we had that word. Yeah, sagi is usually enough, but right. All right. Remember how to remember Shmuel? Sagi means enough. Oh, yeah. When it's sagi, it has enough liquid in it. In my class. Okay. All right. Okay. The Gemara says, you see what we just did here. We said he's doing the same thing that Rabbi Eliezer Bar Tzadok is. He takes the two lower ones, and instead of averaging it out to 90, he averaged it out to 93 because he thinks the mistake could be up to 13. So the Gemara says, but Adarabba, Yonatan, he was supposed to ask this. Why don't you average it out to, it should be 113 and a third, because that would be the mistake that the one that said 100. Why do you say 100? Because he made a mistake 13 and a third backwards. Why the kamar shleishim, the one that said 30, really he should have said more. But it's enough that I added so much. I was afraid to make it too much. Right? I want to be called an outlier. So he went back to 130. Why don't we do that? It says the same answer we said before. Take the lower ones in the hand because it's shouldn't go past the lower two numbers. Take the lower amount. Okay. Amar Rav Huna. Rav Huna says halacha ka'achirim. We're going to pass on like this last opinion over here. Amar Rav Ashi. Rav Ashi says, Taima da'achirim leyadinan. We don't even understand what their reason is. Hilchas avdinan kavasayo, and now you want to paskin like them. Tana was taught in a brayse said the yani goylos and shuma beineh. Who does Rav Ashi want to paskin like? The Rashbam says he wants to go like the Tanakama. That says 100. That says 100, which was the clear. It was the average between all three. The yani goyla, which is Shmuel and Karna, which we had before a few pages ago. Ais and Shuma beinayim, Mishalshlin. The Dayani Goyla say that you average it out in Amar Rav Huna. Rav Huna says Hilchasa Dayani Goyla, that we pass like the Dayani Goyla. What was Mishalshlin? That was the Achirim's opinion. Amaravashi, time did and Hilchasa Avdina Kavasayo. Same thing again. It's the same statement again. You want to go like a Cherem? Here it's the Dayana Goyla saying it, but it's the same point. You want to go like a Cherem? We don't even understand their reason, and now you want to pass like them? Okay.
Cases with his average, the thing we don't know, so we're averaging out, or that's really what it is. Because you're saying like he was 13 off, and then
Guessing, how do we get the actual price of this property? We have three appraisals, and we want to get the one that's the most accurate. So the first opinion said, you know what? There's the Rashbam on Eisen Shubha. See, it's like in the skinny lines. He says, he explains it like this. He says, the Tanakama says, Leitoyenish klal. People don't make any mistake. That's exactly the opinion they said, and we have to go with the middle opinion. Rabbi Elazar Bar Tzadok says, no, people make a mistake of 10. So therefore, we'll take the lower two opinions and we'll average in that margin, the error, and we'll say that they each made a mistake and it's really 90. That's
we're not really averaging out. It's 10 away from.
Yeah, that they made a mistake. And then Achirim say, no, people make a mistake at 13 in the third.
The 10 is like a percentage, 10% up or down.
Yeah. Yeah. This is on something that's worth more than 80. They'll make a mistake by 10 or make a mistake by 13. Yeah, that's the discussion. Something that's worth 1, they're not going to make a mistake by 10.
Oh, it's a percentage of it.
Right.
They always make a mistake.
That's their opinion, is that people could, that's the margin of error, could make a mistake. And therefore, because they have an opinion here, I'll say it's probably really the center.
Probably both.
And they made a mistake. They both made a mistake by 10. You follow? That's that opinion. The other opinion says people don't make mistakes. And so we're just going to take the average one.
Judges put together this approval. A few of them have different, but this is when we go into everything. Yeah.
So
They won't go like usually by one. They have 2 different things. They always.
if they had 2 different opinions, would they go through this machlekes again? No, we would have the halach already. We go like the Tanakama, and this is before they had the halach. If someone says to his friend, I'm selling you half a field, you have to, how do they translate Mishamnim? To evaluate something? The quality falls between them. And he takes half the field. We'll see what this means. It's not so simple. He doesn't just take half the field in size. We'll see. But basically what's going to happen is he's going to have to take, the Gemara is going to tell us, going to take the value of there's different quality fields here. And so when he's taking half the field, you have to estimate the price of the whole field. And of that value, we're going to give him the lower quality of the field, but we need to give him the value of half the entire field, which may mean that he may have majority of the whole entire field. Because he's getting the lower quality, that means he's getting more quantity. That's what this means. Of value. If he says, I'm selling you the one in the south, they put the quality between them, and he takes the one from the south. The owner, because he's not giving him a whole field, which you could say, okay, you bought the whole field, it's yours. No, he's selling him half the field. He has to provide with him a fence and an area around the fence so that people can't jump over the fence, not people, the animals. So they would make a groove and then a second groove on the ground so that they can't jump over the fence. Now, where does that come from? Whose property does it come? It comes from the seller's property. because he's selling him half a field, he has to provide. If it's selling him a whole field, that would be different. The kamahu charitz, how much is that groove in the ground? Shisha tvachim. Ben charitz, how much is the second one? It's shleisha, it's 3 tvachim. And how much is between them? It says 1 tefach. We'll see in the Gemara. Rab Chia Barabba is a student of Rabbi Yochanan, and he says that the purchaser gets the weaker part of the field. Rab Chia Barabba Rabbi Yochanan. Rab Chia Barabba said that over. But Rab Chia Barabba said to him, he says, we said that we put the quality between them. Why are you saying that he only gets the weaker one? He only gets not the weaker, he gets the lower quality, the inferior quality. So Rabbi Yochanan tells to Rabbi Chia Barabba, the achlas kapnaisa beBavel, while you were eating dates in Bavel, I mean, it's like idling around, Dargima Miseifa, you should have learned the Mishnah like we did in Eretz Yisrael. The Kani Seifa, we learned further. It says, Chetzi b'darim ani meichalach, half. On the south, I'm selling to you Mashamni Minayim, and I Chetzi b'darim. He takes the half on the south. Why do they have to evaluate the quality? Why do they have to put the quality between them? He said clearly he's taking the half in the south. What does it mean? He said he's buying that part. He says El Ladami. It must mean that we have to put into the equation the value. So we go back to the ratio. We also have to put in the value, which means get the value of the entire field. And then we divide that value in half, and now we have to give him from the weaker part, from the inferior quality, the value of half the field, which may mean that he's getting more property because of and he gets a trench, but that doesn't have to do with that. Okay, Makabel of Makam Geder, the owner has to supply the fence. Tana was taught in the Brisa, Charitz mi b'chutz, ben charitz mi b'fnim. The bigger ditch around the fence was further out, and the smaller ditch was inside. But both of them are outside the fence. So there's 2 ditches outside the fence so that people can't jump over. Today, they just put barbed wire. In those days, they would make a hole next to it so you couldn't, climb. You couldn't climb up because you would have to go down to. I'm sorry, they do it by the zoo. Yeah.
Trench. The animals can't get out. That's within the fence. That's within the fence. Though.
Yeah,
fence and trench, and then the lions are over there.
Yeah,
to get over the fence.
The other way. Outside of the fence,
people don't get in. What's a Philadelphia?
What is the Philadelphia card?
Between Israel and Egypt. It's a trench.
Oh, they added a big street then. Just take the road.
Yeah. So that the animal shouldn't jump over. Why do you need these 2 ditches? It says, I did the Ravach. It could be because it's so wide, the 6 tvachim. Could be an animal could actually use that space to jump because he's basically on the ground. And I know it's deep, but it could still jump. So then make just a skinnier one where you can't really maneuver inside it. Don't make the bigger one. It says, I did the cotton but because it's so small, you could stand on the edges. The kafta and jump over. How much is between the big ditch and the small ditch? Where it says, tefa, 1 tefa. Okay. And Shem tomorrow. Start Erev Give. We should start in the Perek. Ramaishi, on your way home?
Yeah, I'm gonna make it. It was canceled from yesterday.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Tomorrow regular time?
Did you experience any hurricane?
Was Shalom there?
Shalom's here, yeah.
Can I say hi?
Yeah.
We're finished.
Yeah. 1 second. Let me just.